Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this Quick Tip Tuesday, I'm going to be going over concealers. And of course, with concealing comes a little bit of correcting, because you should never conceal problem areas before correcting them first, or else you'll end up with like really dark patches all over your skin when you cover it up with foundation. So I am going to be going over a little bit of color correcting, but not in too much detail. So if you guys do want a full-blown tutorial or Quick Tip Tuesday on how to color correct, let me know in the comment section below and I'll get that video out for you guys ASAP. So again, this video is going to be on concealers, the different types, where to use them, and different techniques. If you're interested, keep on watching. The first thing I want to talk about are the different types of concealers, because I get this question a lot, whether you should use the same concealer for your face underneath your eyes and vice versa. I tend to use different concealers for the face and for underneath the eyes. A lot of the times you can tell which concealers are meant for under the eye. It'll either be labeled on the product itself, or they're just a lot lighter and more fluid. A good example is the new Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Aqua Concealer. I just started using this. It's a fairly new product for me and I instantly fell in love. Let me give it a couple more days, but right now I'm loving it. It's so lightweight that it's perfect for underneath the eyes. The NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer is great for under the eyes. Bye Bye Undereye. You guys kind of get the flow. Anything that is really lightweight and sort of creamier is great for underneath the eyes. Those concealers can also be used on the face. However, when you do use them to correct problem areas like blemishes that are raised or any areas of the skin that are textured, I highly recommend setting those areas with powder afterwards, because most under eye concealers are really shiny and luminous. Most of them are. So if you place it on an area that is problematic, it'll enhance it versus get rid of it. So just make sure if you do use a concealer that's meant for underneath the eyes on problematic areas, that you set with powder. I personally like to use a separate concealer for my face than for underneath my eyes. I like to use a concealer that dries down a little more matte or semi-matte. A good example are the MAC Studio Finish concealers. I have the ones that come in the palette. These are the Pro Conceal and Correct palettes. These are great if you're a freelance makeup artist, or also if you have a skin tone like mine that varies in color and you just kind of like need a variety of concealers. This is great because you can switch it up and it has your correctors in there. As you can see, I use these a lot. Now the difference is, if you use a concealer that's meant for your face underneath your eyes, like these guys, it might look a little heavy, a little drier. I know people that use these for under their eyes, but I don't highly recommend it. However, I will use the correctors underneath the eyes because of the fact that they do dry more matte. They stay put in their area, and then you can go in with a creamy concealer over to bring back that luminosity. So under eye concealers, yes, you can use them on the face, just set with powder. These types of concealers, I don't recommend it for the under eye area. You can just be aware that it might look a little heavy and a little more on the dry side. For those of you who are confused as to when you should apply concealer, should you do it before foundation or after foundation? It's sort of up to you. There's no right or wrong. Some people will say do it before, do it after. I tend to switch it up. So the good thing about applying concealer after foundation is that you aren't too heavy-handed with your concealer, because your foundation will, for the most part, even out your skin tone, cover up the problem areas, and then you can just go in with a little bit of concealer to cover the areas that your foundation didn't cover. The downside is that sometimes you might not match it perfectly, and then the problem area will further stand out because the concealer is a different color than your skin tone. So that's where applying concealer before foundation comes in hand. The only downside of doing your concealer before foundation is that you might be a little heavy-handed with it, like I tend to be, but you will get a really even finish because you'll be applying your foundation over the concealer, which will give you a really even base. Now, when it comes to correcting, like I was mentioning earlier, you should never just conceal a problem area, even if it's the most full coverage concealer. The problem you'll run into later is that that area that you covered with a really heavy concealer will look gray or blotchy because you didn't correct the color underneath before, especially if you're trying to cover up something like dark under eye circles or even a bruise. If you don't correct it first, it'll just show up really gray when you apply a concealer over it. So always correct before you conceal. For the little demo I filmed for you guys, I corrected the red areas of my skin, including blemishes that were red, because I'm a picker. I like to pick my blemishes and then they end up red afterwards. So I corrected those areas with a green corrector. And the funny thing about green correctors is that after you use them, if you have a lot of redness in your skin, like on your cheeks and your chin, you'll find that you are actually really pale afterwards. So greens really cancel out the redness and the warmth in the skin. So you'll feel really pale, but don't worry, because that's where your foundation will bring back the color, or even the concealer that you'll be placing over the corrector. Peach tones and salmon colored correctors are great for underneath the eye. They'll correct any darkness. I don't know where this extreme orange under eye correcting has come out of, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. You go ahead and do it. So once I'm done correcting and concealing, I'll then go over with foundation, and you'll get the most even, smooth, and flawless finish possible. It doesn't even have to be a full coverage foundation. Any foundation will do. You'll just notice a huge difference. It'll be like a blank slate. You'll have the most perfect foundation application ever. For today's example, I of course did my concealer and correcting before foundation, and I got this finish, and I actually really like it. Most days I'm really lazy and I just go in with concealer afterwards, or no concealer at all, and just let my blemishes show. So it's really up to you and what you want to do. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so I see you in the next one. Bye guys.